Okay, so here we have an unusual situation. You have a customer who has a 24-inch chrome nipple. It's right here. It's for a installation that's exposed, so it needs it to be chrome. And it goes into a fitting like this right here. So I get it going here. There we go. Now, this is not your typical thread. You see now when I tighten this up, that thread disappears. That thread basically disappears. And now he wants a 15-inch nipple, the same size, for this exposed installation. And he's very adamant about how the threads hide. Right, this is a typical chrome nipple here with the normal half-inch threads. These are tapered half-inch. This is also tapered half-inch. But as you can see, one is much longer, much more threading than the other one. And that this is your typical thread that my threading machine will create. And then you put this in here, you tighten it up, you snug it up, and you can see it, you know, it'll mechanically we can get it a little tighter than that. But basically you see all that, they don't want it to look like that. They do not. And that's because of the threads showing. And again, this is what they want. They want it to go way in like that. They want it to be basically disappear on them. That there should be no thread showing there. So how we're going to do this? So this is made of brass and it's been chrome plated. So what we're going to do is we're going to take his existing nipple right here, which is too long, and we are going to shorten it. We're going to transplant these, I would call them special threads. We're going to transplant them at the 15-inch area. And we're going to do that without messing with the chrome. So the goal is not to have to send this thing to the plater. If I do this and mess up the plating, then it goes to, got to go out for stripping, buffing, chrome plating. Right now, we're in California. In California, they don't like chrome plating, so there's fewer and fewer chrome plating shops. So I have to send this far away for plating. So the goal is to go ahead and shorten this, transplant these nipples at the 15-inch edge, and make it beautiful, because that's what my customer wants. And of course, he's in a hurry. Customers always in a hurry. So let me show you how I do that. Okay, so here I'm getting ready to measure for my cut. And so I have both the pipe and the tape measure butted up against this piece of 4x4 here, so that they're the same length. And I need this to be 15 inches long, less the threads I'm going to transplant. Now, for my first cut, I'm going to do this in a couple of series of cuts. So the first cut's going to be a little high, a little long. I'm going to corner it right there at the 15, because I'll have to remove a section here for the threads, but I'll finish this off. I just find that it's easier to do it in several cuts. It's kind of like measure twice, cut once. Well, that's sort of what I'm doing. I'm cutting twice to measure once. Anyhow, so I'm going to take this and cut it. Okay, so now we've cut the pipe, as you can see. So now we're going to do our final measurement for cutting. So we know that we want the threads to be at 15. So let's see here. It's going to be, so we're butting up against the board here. Same thing here, butting up against the board. We got to be at 15. Okay, so I'm going to put a little tape right there. So we can get a good measurement. And let's see here, so 15 is right there. There's your 15 right there. So the several keys here is that we're going to cut this right at the thread line. We're going to cut it right there. And we are going so that the seam that's being created is going to be hidden right up in this line right here, so you can't see the seam. That's the plan. There is the cut right there. Now, very important to get a square cut. So I will cut this again very close to this. So what I got to do now, see, this goes in the lathe, and I have to be able to hold this in the lathe and machine this without damaging the chrome. So now that's the next step of the process. You see here, it's going to cut it one more time. That's where I want to be, so I can go a little bit larger than that. Okay, so I've cut the pipe again, as you can see, at the 15, we're right there. So now, to protect the piece that's going to go in the lathe. So let's do that. So we're working with these two pieces right here. Now, first thing to go in the lathe is this piece right here. So I've discovered that this is 10 inches length of 2-inch tape. So I'm going to put that on. It's just masking tape. I want to stick it on snugly. And I came up to the 10-inch length by accident, or by trying to work this out many times before. So there we go. And so I'm going to do another one right next to it here. So this is where the chuck is going to grab it. So now what we're doing is we are protecting the chrome. But the chuck's going to just tear up this chrome if I let the chuck get all the way down there. So now, that means that basically what I have to do is I have to open up the inside diameter here. I'm going to open up that diameter to about 50% of the, so it's 50% of the thickness of the rim. And I'm going to do that in very small increments of cuts, because by doing that I don't put a lot of pressure on the pipe and the chuck. The more I cut at the time, the more the harder the chuck has to hold it. And then I want to make that at least 1 inch deep. 1 inch deep. Then we're going to worry about part number 2, but that is part number 1. So we're going to go do that right now. Okay, so we have now machined the inside to depth of just over 1 inch, and I've reduced the diameter or the thickness of the pipe by around 50%. And you can see here where you have the chuck marks. Okay, so we're going to unwrap this and hopefully have not damaged the chrome any. Let's see what we got going here. I think we succeeded. We cut this to open up the inside, and the chrome is still intact. The second part is this is what's left on the other side. Here's the part we're going to transplant. And an inch of this should go up inside of our tube right here to make it nice and long and square. So even though we're going to cut it right here, we're going to leave a 1 inch section that's long enough to slip in here. So let's give that a shot. So here's the part that we're going to slip. You have to cut down this part right here, make it smaller. And when to put this in the chuck, we're going to put it into here. That protects the threads, obviously. And this is square. This has been tested, totally rotate square in the chuck. So now I can cut this part right here down to the desired thickness. Reduce the size. Okay, so here's the piece right here. So we've reduced the diameter. And now so you can see, very hard to see a seam right there. So now, so there are a couple last steps. We do have to solder this in place, and then we have to water test it, obviously. But this is an exposed installation, so I don't know if I would do this kind of custom work on something that's hidden. But this is exposed, so should everything ever go wrong, you can see it. It's not going to be create a leak behind the wall or anything like that. Anyway, we do a lot of work here on chrome, with machining chrome without affecting the chrome. At the Sink Factory. We're here for you.